Hello. All this month for Black History Month, I am every day profiling a badass black woman who gave us so much wisdom that the United States didn't really listen to. Today, we're going to talk about Susie King Taylor. Taylor was a Gullah. She was the daughter of an enslaved woman on the Sea Islands off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. When she was still quite young, she was sent into Savannah. Now, Savannah at that time had several secret black schools with mostly black women at great risk to their own safety, teaching black children and also black adults without letting other people know they were doing it, because there were severe penalties for doing that. She began attending Mrs. Woodhouse's secret school, and she remembered going every morning at 9 o'clock. She said, "Our books wrapped in paper to prevent the police or white persons from seeing them. We went in one at a time through the gate into the yard to the kitchen, which was the schoolroom." She and her fellow students were very careful to conceal the reason they were going to Mrs. Woodhouse's kitchen, because, as she said, the neighbors would see us going in sometimes, but they supposed we were there learning trades. It was okay to teach black people a trade at that time. When the Union Army reached Fort Pulaski, which was on an island at the mouth of the Savannah River, she fled to the fort. It appears that her uncle helped her flee there. She was there just a few days before the northern troops discovered that she was literate. So they moved her to St. Simon's Island and told her that if she would start a school, they would purchase the books that she needed. At the age of 13, Susie King Taylor established the first free school for black children and became the first black child, really, to teach at a free school in the state of Georgia. In her memoir, she said, "There are many people who do not know what some of the colored women did during the war. These things should be kept in history before the people. There has never been a greater war in the United States than the one of 1861, where so many lives were lost, not men alone, but noble women as well." Now, her workload would have been, crushing for an adult, let alone a teenager. She instructed 40 kids during the day, then she would eat her dinner, and then she'd go straight back to her little school and teach dozens of adults at night before passing out and then starting again the next day. But she was not just a pioneering teacher. She also became the first black nurse in the U.S. Army. The first to serve in the Civil War, the first to serve, period. She married a soldier, Edward Taylor, and traveled with him and the 33rd U.S. Colored Infantry until the February of 1866. At that point, she moved back to Savannah with her husband, and she opened another black school for black children. This is the little schoolhouse that she had. She charged $1 a month for tuition. She eventually, throughout her lifetime, opened many schools for African American children. She called them the Children of Freedom. She was also the first black woman to self-publish her memoirs. They're called Reminiscences of My Life in Camp, published in 1902. Not only, again, first black nurse, first black teacher to teach in Georgia openly, first African-American woman to self-publish her memoirs, and she wrote a lot about her experiences in the war. She also wrote a lot about racism. One of the things she said was, "I do not uphold my race when they do wrong. They ought to be punished, but the innocent are made to suffer as well as the guilty, and I hope the time will hasten when it will be stopped forever. I may not live to see it, but the time is approaching." Should have turned off my phone. "But the time is approaching when the South will again have to repent for the blood it has shed of innocent black men." Susie King Taylor remained an activist throughout her life. She worked on behalf of Afro-Cuban refugees during the Spanish-American War, noting at the time that they suffered under the same racism and discrimination African Americans experienced. She later testified before Congress, when the Daughters of the Confederacy were trying to control what was taught in schools, they were really pushing the lost cause, the false and wrong lost cause myth. She pushed back hard. She wrote this, and I'm trying hard to rely heavily on their own words. She wrote this: "I read an article which said the ex-Confederate daughters had sent a petition to the managers of the local theaters in Tennessee to prohibit the performance of Uncle Tom's Cabin, claiming it was exaggerated and would have a very bad effect on the children who might see the drama. Do these Confederate daughters ever send petitions to prohibit the atrocious lynchings and wholesale murdering and torture of the Negro? Do you ever hear of them fearing this would have a bad effect on the children? Which of these two, the drama or the present state of affairs, makes a degrading impression upon the minds of our young generation? In my opinion, it is not Uncle Tom's Cabin, but it should be the one that has caused the world to cry, shame. It does not seem as if our land is yet civilized. And let me end here with a little bit more of Susie King Taylor's writings. She wrote this: I wonder if our white fellow men realize the true sense or meaning of brotherhood. For 200 years we had toiled for them. The War of 1861 came and was ended, and we thought our race was forever free from bondage, and that the two races could live in unity with each other. Yet when we read almost every day what is being done to my race by some whites in the South, I sometimes ask, was the war in vain? Has it brought freedom in full sense of the word, or has it not made our condition more hopeless? In this land of the free, we are burned, tortured, and denied a fair trial. We are murdered for any imaginary wrong conceived in the brain of the Negro-hating white man. There is no redress for us from a government which promised to protect all under its flag. It seems a mystery to me. They say, one flag, one nation, one country indivisible. Is this true? Can we say this truthfully when one race is allowed to burn, hang, and inflict the most horrible torture weekly, monthly on another? No, we cannot sing My Country 'Tis of Thee, Sweet Land of Liberty. It is hollow mockery. In 2023, the Savannah City Council voted to rename one of its city squares in honor of her. It was originally named for John C. Calhoun, the Confederate. It is now named for Susie King Taylor. If you're ever in Savannah, take a visit and just a moment to honor the memory of another badass Black woman. Have a great one. Be kind.